The notice of meeting and the 2016 annual report and financial statements have been circulated or made available to shareholders. A quorum is present, and therefore I declare the meeting open. To talk about the takeover notice, I'd like to move to this topic because I know most of you would like to hear more about the notice of takeover offer. Bapcor is an Australian automotive parts business, and earlier this year they approached us in regards to buying our automotive group. As we were in a process of defining our new strategy and believed that automotive was a very valuable and important part of that strategy, we took the discussions no further. On Tuesday, 27 September 2016, we received a takeover notice from Bapcor Finance Pty Limited, a subsidiary of ASX-listed Bapcor Limited. This was unsolicited and unexpected. Your board has considered the takeover proposal, and our preliminary view is that the Bapcor offer is opportunistic and does not represent fair value for your shares in Hellaby. We have appointed Grant Samuel to provide an independent review of the offer, and the directors are also forming their own view on the offer, assisted by our financial advisors Forsyth Barr and our specialist legal advisor Harmos Horton Lusk. This will be communicated to shareholders in the target company statement in the next few weeks. We recommend you do nothing with your Hellaby shares until you receive the board's formal recommendation on Bapcor's offer, which will be part of the target company statement. You will also receive a copy of the independent advisor's report, which will contain the independent advisor's commentary on the merits of what Bapcor has put on the table. The fact that Bapcor intends to make an offer speaks to the reputation and strength of our automotive business. Obviously, Bapcor sees a lot of value in Hellaby's automotive group and its potential in both the New Zealand and Australian market, as do we. They have publicly referred to the synergies of bringing these businesses together. As we've announced, we have a growth strategy in place, focused on our two core business groups, and we do not accept that we should be forced to delay many planned initiatives during the bid period. We want to ensure that we can continue with a business as usual approach during this time, while acknowledging the distraction and disruption to our people. As you will have heard, our largest shareholder, 27% shareholder Castle Investments Limited, which is owned by the Hugh Green Trust, has indicated a desire to sell. Hugh Green Group has been a very supportive major shareholder for over 2 decades. However, the family circumstances following Hugh Green's death in 2012 have altered, with certain matters being litigated. The court-appointed trustees of the Hugh Green Trust are present today. It is important to note that the directors take their responsibility seriously to act in good faith and in the best interests of the company. In the current circumstances, this means to consider the interests of all shareholders, to maximise the value for shareholders and to extract full value for any assets sold. The next steps in this process will be to receive the formal takeover offer and to prepare our target company statement in response to the offer, and to receive the independent advisor's report on the value of Hellaby shares, plus advice from our team of advisors. At present, we expect the target company statement and the independent advisor's report to be sent to shareholders around the end of October. There will be considerable communications around the takeover offer in coming weeks, and I urge shareholders to read it all carefully. We believe that Hellaby has a very attractive future, and I reiterate that the board considers the Bapcor offer price undervalues your company. As shareholders, you will probably receive a formal offer from Bapcor before you receive our reports and recommendations. There will be no need for you to deal with the offer quickly or immediately. Once it is made, it would be open for at least 30 days. If you accept the offer, you won't be able to change your mind. As a result, there is no advantage to you in accepting the offer before you hear from us. We suggest you wait, read carefully what we have to say, take your own advice if you want to, but don't feel pressured into doing anything quickly, even if someone from Bapcor rings you and asks you to accept the offer. Moving to 2016 year. Hellaby underwent considerable change in the 2016 financial year. Of note was the appointment of Alan Clark as Managing Director and CEO in November 2015. Following a very considered and careful review by group executives and the board, we undertook to make changes to our strategic direction, and Alan will talk to you more about this shortly. We now have a very clear and defined focus on two core groups where we see considerable opportunities to add shareholder value: automotive and resource services. During the year, we invested in new businesses for both of these groups. The 13 million Australian dollar acquisition of Premier Auto Trade and the $45 million purchase of TBS Group, which settled at the start of the new financial year, 1st of July. These are both financially strong businesses which add scale to our groups and expand our presence in our target markets. We restructured our corporate office and moved to a new decentralised business model, and this incurred some costs which were realised in the FY 2016 results. We also announced the conditional sale of our equipment group for $81 million. This settled on 30 September, and we will realise a gain on sale of around $30 million in the FY 17 financial year. We are also thrilled to be awarded the Infins Award for Emerging Leaders Best Corporate Communicator. We want our shareholders to be engaged in the business, and we've been trying very hard to communicate with shareholders, and in fact, Alan and Richard have just undertaken a comprehensive investor roadshow across the country, or part of the country, because unfortunately it was cut short in Invercargill due to the takeover notice, but we will be back to finish what we started once the air has cleared. 2016 was a challenging year for our company, with very soft trading in the oil and gas markets, which impacted on our contract resources business and our overall financial performance. Overall, it was a soft result, following many years of improving performance and growth. Sales were up on last year, but margins across the company came under increasing pressure. We reported a full year result that was at the top end of our May 2016 guidance. Now, Alan Clark will take you through the financial results in more detail shortly. We continue to measure ourselves by total shareholder returns. For the 2016 financial year, this was disappointing at a negative 3.4%, primarily impacted by the contract resources trading conditions, with the share price softening to $2.50 in the month of June 2016 following our full year guidance. This was certainly not up to the level that we want, but it did improve subsequent to year end. In recent weeks, and before the takeover bid being announced, the notice of takeover being announced, our share price had risen well over 20% and exceeded $3 per share on an ex-dividend basis. Total shareholder returns remains an important measure for the company in assessing board and management performance. Turning to dividend. The board declared a final fully imputed dividend of 12.5 cents per share for FY 2016, which was paid to you on the 30th of September. This took our total dividend for the year to 21.5 cents per share, which is the same dividend rate as last year. Yes, this was a higher dividend than earnings per share, but it reflects the directors' confidence in our future maintainable earnings stream. Additionally, we have made a around $30 million capital gain on the equipment group sales since the year end, which was not reflected in our 2016 accounts. Feedback from our investors reinforces the importance of this level of dividends to our shareholders in this very low interest rate environment. We have actively reviewed our capital management during the year and believe that our gearing level is satisfactory in the current time. We made more than $15 million of debt-funded acquisitions during the year and received a $2.3 million final settlement payment on the packaging group sale, which occurred in FY 2015. Mergers and acquisitions is an important part of our strategy, and we still have a number of opportunities in front of us. A number of significant events have occurred since the end of the 2016 financial year. We settled the acquisition of TBS Group on the 1st of July 2016 and the sale of the equipment group on the 30th of September, as I just said before. We welcome Chris Ross and Charles Cook and Graham Matthews, each of them directors of TBS Group, who are all with us today and are now all Hellaby shareholders. We'll work out afterwards what capacity you're here today. You're here as shareholders. Ivor Ferguson started as CEO of the Resource Services Group at the start of the new financial year. He started on the 1st of July. And he has spent several months getting down into the detail of these businesses. He will be presenting his strategic plan to the board in the coming weeks, and we are looking forward to hearing his vision for the future of the Resource Services Group. And we have appointed retail specialists John Elliott and Roger Harper, together with advisory board member Ron Halls, who are all here today as well, to develop new strategies for the footwear group and to set a path for improved performance before we again review opportunities to divest it. We have previously been approached by parties interested in buying the footwear group, but the terms have been inadequate and the board believed that it would have been detrimental to shareholders compared to the benefits of restructuring the business first. The directors have had a very busy year, given the number of significant changes during the year, as well as our goal to review governance processes. This includes the Hellaby CEO search process leading to the appointment of Alan Clark, the review and modification of Hellaby's strategy involving our narrower industry focus and with consequential changes to our organisational and management structures, and to introduce a decentralised business model and a culture of empowerment and accountability down into and through our business groups. We've had an externally led board performance evaluation process which was completed in March this year. We've reviewed remuneration policy, particularly around performance incentives, and we've developed a succession plan for the board and a search process for new directors. We were well down the track of finalising the appointment of 2 new directors following this annual meeting when the notice of takeover was given by Bapcor. These proposed appointments reflect the board's objective to increase diversity, including gender and geography, and including persons with strong background and experience to support the resource services area. We are excited about adding this experience to the board. However, the current circumstances are such that it's inappropriate it is appropriate to defer these director appointments as the current board and management manage the takeover process. The director candidates are understanding of this and remain very keen to join the Hellaby board and to contribute to the evolution and implementation of the Hellaby strategy. Director Gary Mollard has advised us of his intention to retire from the board at this annual meeting. Gary has made a positive and valued contribution to Hellaby since his appointment in 2009. At my request, Gary has agreed to temporarily be reappointed to the board after the annual meeting. by the directors, appointed by the directors after the annual meeting, and then retire permanently once the outcome of the takeover is known. We appreciate that this is somewhat unusual to retire at this annual meeting and then be reappointed. However, this is a pragmatic approach by Gary and the board, and I would like to sincerely thank Gary, not only for his service and contribution to the Hellaby board, but his willingness to extend his tenure. Finally, we have become corporate members of the New Zealand Shareholders Association, and we welcome the role of and our interactions with the Shareholders Association led by John Hawkins during the year. We have now have a clearly defined focus on two core business groups that will operate in multi-billion-dollar markets. We have experienced, talented leadership teams in place with oversight and support from the Hellaby executive team and the board. I would like to reinforce the board's focus, building the strength and performance of our core businesses, ensuring that they evolve in a changing world, both from the usual competitive forces and also from the many changes happening around all manner of emerging technologies. And we identify the opportunities for Hellaby business groups to innovate in the ways that they will further increase our ability to provide solutions to customers. Our focus is also on developing business leadership and our emerging talent within our businesses and strengthening the performance-based culture right through the layers of our business. The opportunities ahead of us are significant, and we are excited about what the future holds as we build our presence in these two very large markets. So once again, I reiterate, the board believes that the Bapcor offer is opportunistic and does not represent fair value for Hellaby. We urge you to do nothing until you receive the target company statement from Hellaby, which will include the independent advisor's report and the board's recommendation. So thank you for listening. I will now hand over to Alan Clark to talk to you more about his vision for Hellaby and our new strategy. Thank you very much.